The benefits of recycling aren't always completely obvious to consumers. People don't generally see where their trash goes when they throw it away, and most certainly don't see how the environment is affected when raw materials are extracted from the natural world. And of course, nobody sees the greenhouse gases that are released into the atmosphere that result when those materials are processed. However, the amount of waste generated by Americans is increasing with each year. In fact, the EPA collects and publishes data for what is known as the Municipal Solid Waste Report, which tracks growing amount of wastes, the way they are being disposed of, and the amount of greenhouse gases released into the atmosphere as a result of this waste. Recycling is a great way to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, conserve energy, and is a fairly straightforward process that only requires a little bit of time and energy. If you were to guess how much waste Americans generate per year, what would you propose? In 2011, Americans generated 250 million tons of waste. Only 34% of that waste was recycled. The rest was put into landfills. There are many reasons why this is a problem, and the four biggest ones are as follows. 1. Greenhouse gas emissions are rising. According to the 2014 U.S. Climate Change Action Report, landfills are the third largest contributor to methane emissions. Even though methane makes up only 8.8% of total greenhouse gas emissions, it is 20 times more absorbent of heat than carbon dioxide. Garbage that is not destined to be reused gets thrown into landfills and contributes to these emissions. 2. Energy waste is wasted when items are not recycled. Many contributors to greenhouse gas emissions come from production of packaging and containers made of plastics, glass, aluminum, and other materials. When these materials are not reused, the energy required for extraction, refinement, and transport is lost. So when items are not recycled, not only does that contribute to increased emissions, but also energy waste. When items are not recycled, the need for raw materials stays high. 3. Recycling conserves resources. The bottom line is that raw materials used in making plastic, paper, and aluminum are not endless resources. They will eventually run out, and when that happens, our society will be dependent upon reusing what we already have. Lastly, recycling is better for our wildlife. Marine debris is a big problem right now. We've probably seen at least one image of a seal or turtle entangled in a fishing net, or of beaches spotted with human waste. As humans, we should not accept the problems we are causing for other creatures. We need to take more responsibility for our trash and keep it out of the habitats of other species. Also, trash beaches are not aesthetically pleasing. Nobody wants to spend a day at the beach, or anywhere for that matter, among garbage. Now it is time to discuss solutions to these problems. You're probably wondering how to get started. It is first a good idea to find a desirable place to put recyclables in your home. If you live in a house or apartment, putting bins in the kitchen or garage is usually most convenient. It is helpful to write on the bins which materials are supposed to go in them. Creating bins for newspaper, plastic, tin, aluminum, and glass is usually the norm. It's sometimes a good idea to separate brown, green, and opaque glass materials because some recycling areas require separation of glass types. The glass and tin should be cleaned of food residue, and aluminum cans should be squashed. Recycling as a college student can be difficult sometimes. Students are constantly on the go and typically find themselves in places where recycling is a challenge. Most dorm rooms have a 3-gallon recycling bin for students to collect paper and plastic. It is typically the student's job to take out their own recyclables and put them in a designated blue dumpster. In these situations, recyclables don't have to be separated, but they do have to be the appropriate materials. Batteries and sometimes glass are not accepted. According to recycling.unl.edu, the recycling program at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln has undergone some budget reductions that have resulted in decreased custodial support. In many buildings, the staff is largely responsible for getting recyclables from the 3-gallon containers to the dumpster. If you work in or spend a lot of time in a specific building, offer to help them out. Most buildings do have places to recycle, however, so you might have to take a look around or ask someone who works there. My last message is that some recycling is better than none. Separating trash and taking it to the right place takes time and effort. If you are someone who just uses a lot of paper, recycle only paper. If you drink a lot of canned soda, recycle aluminum. It doesn't have to be all or none. Ideally, everyone would recycle all of their trash, but each individual has to start somewhere. If everyone made even just a little bit more of an effort toward proper trash disposal, that can save a lot of energy and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Another solution which everyone should consider is to not buy items containing materials that must be recycled, particularly plastic, because it does not decompose well. The less demand there is to synthesize these materials, the less they will be made. This would be much better for our environment. Ways to do this include not getting a plastic bag to put items in when grocery shopping, using reusable non-plastic or paper, using reusable non-plastic or paper dishes, buying certain foods in bulk to avoid excessive packaging. It's always helpful to find ways to avoid bringing paper, plastic, styrofoam, and polystyrene into our lives. Now that I've explained how to get started with recycling, I hope it doesn't sound too daunting. Again, I cannot stress the importance of taking care of our environment and reducing emissions. The best way to take action is to recycle our trash. According to the 2011 Municipal Solid Waste Report, recycling 45.6 million tons of paper and paperboard is equivalent to taking 28 million cars off the road in 1 year, so don't underestimate the importance of recycling. However, there is so much more of that same material that needs to be recycled. Disposing of our waste properly by separating the materials in our trash so that they can be reused saves energy and reduces greenhouse emissions, and lastly is one of the best ways to improve the many environmental problems we face today. We only have one planet, and being responsible for our waste is a big part of taking care of it.